All right, so real quickly, I'm going to show you how to bend these particular train tracks. These were sent to it by a friend that I asked him, what do you use when you are using a train? What tracks do you use? What's some tracks that you have? Because the tracks that I have will not load in the Blender. So he sent me these, and this is a straight piece here. The problem is the DDS file that came with the texture for this. The file's corrupt. It won't let me load the texture map for whatever reason. It gives me an error. I can't even look at the image. So this would have to be retextured. If I was going to use this, I'd have to retexture it, which it wouldn't be a problem. Now to bend this thing, you go to edit mode and you can look at the geometry of this particular segment of track, and you can see that there are no cuts going across it horizontally. So what that means to you is if you were to grab those nodes and try to move them to make some other shapes, that's pretty much all you're limited to, is just being able to move it like that, because there's not any cuts in it that allow flexibility. So I tried to add my own loop cut through it, but as you can see, it only wants to let me make cuts like this and this and this and that and that, and this. Man, come on. So then I tried to use the knife and manually cut it across, and it starts to cut, and then at some point it gives me a problem where it doesn't want to connect. See, it's not giving me a link right there to connect that. So long story short, that method won't work. So what I resorted to, let me get rid of this light, this camera, that light. What I had to do basically is scale this thing by hitting S, or you can hit the scale here, whichever you prefer. And I shrunk it down to, remember when you're scaling, if you're farther away from the center when you scale, it's a lot easier to control. You can also hold down Shift to get some fine movement, or you can hold Control to lock it, like in increments. What I do is I'll scale it like this. Now that piece right there, I will select it, go to the modifiers, add an array, except instead of adding them that way, I will change this factor to X. X is red, green is Y, blue is Z. So if you tell factor 0 for factor X and 1 for Y, then as you increase the count, you'll get more segments. So if you look at the wireframe of this, you will see now it has many, many cuts, which will allow flexibility, movement, whatever you want to do with it. So we're in a top view. I hit 7 on the keyboard to get to a top view. I'm going to go back into edit mode, and I'm going to, with X-ray turned on, this is off, with it turned on, I will grab, say, these here. Oops. All right, wait a minute. What's going on? It won't let me pick it. Because I didn't apply the array modifier yet. Dummy, you got to apply the array modifier. Back to edit mode. Top view 7 with proportional editing turned on, with X-ray turned on, with this little box selected. I'll select these nodes. Now you don't get the size of proportional editing. There's a circle that shows you the size of influence. You won't get it until you start to move or scale or rotate. See, now that I hit the button to scale or rotate or move, see that little circle? You can use page up page down to change the size of the influence. And whatever view you're in, you know, it works like that. Now I found with the train tracks that they are kind of wishy-washy in working correctly. Just for an example, if I were to say select maybe that, move those like over. Well, I wouldn't want to do all those like that. That won't work right. Let's do them one at a time. Or you can pick more if you want to move a bigger area at a time. Or you can just move a little bit at a time, depending on what your needs are. I think this particular bend here was one that was asked about. Making a let's see. I'm not gonna try to get it perfect. I'll be here all night if I try to get it perfect. But you see how that basically bends those tracks. Let me turn on this render engine here so we can see the shadows a little better. I'll turn this on. Let's get I'm gonna add a HDRI image background just so we got some realistic ray trace lighting. Alright, so how about that? Yeah, once it loads. This is using the Blender Kit add-on, by the way. It doesn't come with Blender. You have to download it and install it. It's free, but my window's not letting me down. I don't know what the deal is with this damn thing tonight. There we go. I didn't have the damn shader turned on for rendering. So now you can see a little better the here we go, different one. Let's try that one. I'm just trying to make it so you can see, because since the texture won't load for me, I'm trying to make it so you can see better the geometry of this thing. There we go. I can see a little better now. Or maybe not. There we go. That'll work. And like I said, you the wireframe, you can see how and why it's you can see why it will bend based on why the other one, I mean, compared to why the other one will not bend. It's also a good idea to turn on up here these two little circles. Turn on face orientation and make sure your normals are facing the right way and that it's not inside out. If it was red and it would be inside out, you just hit A in edit mode to select all and then go to mesh, normals, flip. But we don't need to do that. You can flip just single polygons if you wanted to. Sometimes you'll make something and some of them will be the wrong way and some of them will be the right way, and you're like, oh man, how'd that happen? So you got that option. Now I'm gonna do this one more time. so we're clear on how to do it. So I'm going to import in the tracks, the DAE file. So this train track straight, import collider. I don't need to lidar the camera. So this is our one little segment. I'll turn this face orientation back off. So to make that bendable, I'm going to scale it this way so that it's like this. And then I'm going to add an array. If yours is facing the green arrow and not the red, then you would change the factor of y to 1 and the x to 0. But if yours were rotated, like that, then, you would use x. It depends on how you got it rotated. And then however many you want to make, you can double click in here and just type in a number if you want to put in like 1,000 of them. If you want to see that far though, you need to turn on up here, go to view and increase this to a higher number so you can see farther. So to edit it, go to edit mode. I'll just select the faces, but you can also use select vertexes if you want to. But make sure you turn on X-ray. That way, when you're selecting these I forgot again, damn it. We're backing up. So once you have added the array, and you see I added 1,000, you will need to apply the array. Now that it's applied, I can now go to edit mode and I can select whatever I want to select. But what X-ray does is it lets you select what's in front and in what's back. Without it on, you can see how, like, on the bottom, well, this actually selected everything. But usually it won't select. Well, it didn't select everything. Some of those aren't selected. But if you turn on X-ray and you select, then it selects everything on the front and back. So hitting 7 on the keyboard for like a top-down view. We'll just select these here. I'll turn on proportional editing, and once I start to move, I will get the circle of influence appear, which is that big circle. It'll start off though small when you first use proportional editing. It'll be a little bitty circle, kind of like that. You just have to hit page up, page down to make it scale it. Now, from what I've seen messing with these train tracks, too drastic of a turn, for whatever reason, the train doesn't want to stay on the tracks. It ends up derailing. Oh, here's some other things you can do with these faces selected. You can say scale if you want to scale the tracks like that, for example. You can do that. We can select some more. Let's see, we'll pick these here. It don't matter where. I mean, whatever you want to pick, it's up to you. I'm just giving you some examples. See, if you wasn't using proportional editing, this is basically what happens when you select something and move it. It just moves that piece. So that's why you use that. Let's see, what else can you do? We could select all of this and rotate it. You don't want to do that. That's way too much. Actually, let me get a few of them. Rotate. Usually that's kind of easy to do, right? Rotate it this way too. We can also, let's see, rotate uh, that way. You know, if we want the tracks to, let me hide this so we can see a little better. We'll rotate it that way, or that way. Now I know good and well this train will not work right on that track. There is no way that's going to work. But we'll try it anyway, and you can see how this kind of works in the game. But back to object mode. Now, if you want your object to be like this, where you rotate and it's rotating like here, you can do that. Or if you want to set the origin to the 3D cursor and geometry to origin that centers it, you know, if you wanted to be able to rotate it and stuff in that way. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to use it like this. I'm going to look at a side view and make sure that we're not underground, which we are. And I noticed that about this particular track asset, it spawns in the ground. You can fix that by raising it up out of the ground with move or G on the keyboard and then Z if you're looking at a side view. But you may not use the hotkeys, that's fine. You can just move it like this. We just want to get it out of the ground so it's not underground. And anytime I move anything, I always just apply all transforms. Now we'll export this as a DAE. I'm going to rename this to do something easy to remember. Track 1. Now the texture, I'm just going to let it use this, even though this is not right. This has to be changed. I don't know why that ended up changing that, but even though I can't get these to load right, I'll still save the file, and what isn't loading for me, the game will actually load. Oh shit, that's all confusing. Just don't worry about the textures. Forget that. Forget anything to do with the texture. This is something else I got to tackle and figure out what the deal is with that. Just forget I said anything about texture. So we just set this thing's origin and we applied all transforms to get it where we wanted it centered. Now we're just going to export the DAE. And in that same folder, I'll make a new file. I'll call this bent track. That's the only thing in there, so I don't have to say selection only. If there was other things in here and you were working at other objects and stuff, you just pick the track and just say selection only if you were. But it's just the only thing in here, and I'm just going to use the game's visible final mesh final to be the collision mesh. So export this. Now let me load that main.material.json for that track asset. Wait a minute, where's the damn folder? Where did I export that to? Download, okay. I'm gonna make sure I'm sending it to the right place. A place that I know where it's at. That's what I'm trying to say. So there's the main.materials.json. Now, if you want this to work in all your levels and you don't want to have to fool with this every single time. Just delete all that crap and just put the name of the texture and not where it's located. As long as where this file is, as long as this main.materials.json is in the same folder that the textures are in, and they're in their own folder, you can just simply copy this to your clipboard and whatever level you want to put them in. Let's just see what we got here saved already. Let's say small grid. Paste. Now when we load the level, that asset should load, material should be fine. Except it's not, the material's not going to be fine because I did the array modifier and I shrunk the thing really small. It's going to look squashed. The texture is going to look squashed. Which, like I said, I'm not going to try to troubleshoot the texture. It's taking me long enough to get this video done. I want to at least upload something because I know my friend's been patiently waiting. And honestly, I just got too many things I'm trying to do at one time that it's like there's not enough hours in the day to do everything that I'm trying to do. Too many projects. All right, asset browser. Let's go to that folder that we made, tracks, and which one did I just say? Benttrack.dab. So there we go. And like I said, I knew the texture was going to be screwed up just by the way that I did. Even though I can't see the texture, I can probably, maybe, I could at least go into the editor, hit A to select all, go to UV editing, and I mean, I know that's the UVs. I should be able to scale this to match the squashed. The way I squashed it, that should fix it. Maybe 50% sure. We'll see. I'm not expecting it to fix it, but if it does, then great, great, great. We're getting there. Let's scale it a little smaller. I mean, a little squasher, a little more squashed. Okay, I think that'll work. Yeah, that'll be all right. And I will. I mean, there's a lot more you could do with this texture to make it better. I just ain't spending a lot of time on it. But what I would do, I would like take these the track part, and I would separate that into an individual object. I mean, have that have its own texture. Basically, you'd have to go into here. You'd have to do this before you do the array modifier when you only just got one piece to work with. And what you would do is you would make a second texture that is like just for the metal track part, and you would apply it like in edit mode. Let's just take a little segment real quick and I'll show you what I mean. So even though we don't see a texture, you can still get the idea of what I'm doing. The X-ray on, I'll pick the track parts, which that's too much. Hold on. It would just be this. And we are in edit mode. And a material, basically make a new material. Like, let's see. Let's call that rail. Just rail. Uh, and then assign. And it'll give that its own texture. Now it's only going to do that little segment. That's why I said you would want to do this before you do all the other stuff. That way when you duplicate it, all that's repeated. You don't have to like reselect all that train track. So let me export this back to the game with that one little piece changed, and you'll see what that does. Tracks. All right. Now I didn't make the texture for that yet. There may already be a texture for tracks that's already made on this level. I fooled around. No, it was called rail, not tracks. Uh, Hold on a minute. I should see. There it is. I was like, so I say, I know I didn't make the damn texture yet, so I'm gonna get a no material. So what I have to do is go into that main.materials. Let's see here. Levels, small grid, art, tracks, main.materials.json. Now, since I am adding a second material, I'll just copy this material. Now, when you're at the end, there's no more extra. When you're out of textures, like there's no more textures. I mean, you'll get a bracket. Let me zoom in. You get a bracket and a bracket. But if you wanted to add another texture, you would need to put a bracket and a comma, and then put your new texture there, which I'm just going to paste the one that's above it here and just change the name to just rail, where that was the name that I just made in Blender for it. All right. Rail. Now this does not have a color map at all. Oops, one too many brackets and commas. All right, so bracket, comma, bracket, bracket. Let's save this. Let's reload the level. Because for that change to take effect, we got to reload the level. It'd be nice if it updated right away. You know how long I spent, in the beginning, back like a year ago, how long I spent trying to fix damn textures that were red, no material, when I didn't realize that when you do a texture correction like that, it's not going to correct it until you reload it. You can do everything to correct it, but it's not going to actually correct or present itself corrected. I mean, until you reload. And I spent like days trying to say, what in the hell am I doing wrong? Couldn't figure it out for nothing. And I finally figured it out. Visible mesh final for the collisions, and oh yeah, the material for rail. So what I was going to say you should do with this in advance, just tell the reflection to be like the level. Now this doesn't have great it's pretty basic as far as there's not much. It's basically like a box, so you're not going to really see. I have to move something over here so you can get an idea how this is working. Let's move the car here. And you can see it reflecting in there. Yeah, sure ain't reflecting, is it? I don't know. I'm not really crazy how these reflection maps work. I don't know what the deal is with that. I'm just gonna stick an image in there just to have something to contrast it with. I tell you, this damn map's not great for doing this kind of testing. These are damn clouds. Damn, I ain't got no dang clouds in here. So I just use a different image. I know that's not cloud, so I'm not even sure what that damn texture is. Uh, let me try to get something better than that. Some hot lava. Hot lava clouds. Damn, that ain't working. I'm not sure why. It's a PNG. Oh, that's the texture of some dirt. Can't really. See, this is how I get sidetracked. You know, I try to make videos and I just end up getting dang sidetracked with something that has nothing to do with the damn train tracks. That's the only thing I'm bad about doing. Because it's like this obsessive compulsive thing where I want to, like, it annoys me when something is not the way it's supposed to be. And I'll do everything I can to try to get it to do right. Even though it doesn't matter, it's like annoying to me. I guess it's like this obsession I have to fix things right away. Let's see what else we got. I'm gonna go into a different level. It's got more stuff in it. Uh, you don't want to do this, by the way. You don't want to have things pulling from a different location like this. God dog it.